everyone, this is Whitney, and welcome back to an episode of Spastic Chatter. If you're new here, Spastic Chatter is a platform meant to feature those in the Cerebral Palsy community, and I get together with individuals with CP, like myself, to have an uncensored chat, if you will, about what it's like living with this type of disability. And for this week, I have Kenzie, and she is a health and fitness coach who specializes in helping women that are newly engaged get on their fitness journey. So I'm excited to have a chat with Kenzie, and I will let her introduce herself, and then we'll get on to the conversation. So take it away, Kenzie.
Like she said, I'm a virtual health and fitness coach with Beachbody. They're going to be renaming their company Body this spring, but I've been coaching for almost 2 years now, and I do at-home workouts and nutrition plans through Body, and then I help women do the same. And so I'm engaged right now, so I'm focusing on working with other women who are engaged and planning their weddings like I am. But it works really well for me because the workouts are at home, and with my cerebral palsy, I don't have to go to a gym and have other people staring at me when I'm working out. And they also have low impact or modified versions of all the workout moves, so it's easy for me to do even with my mild CP.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to take it back to the beginning. What got you into health and fitness? And then the other part of the question is what made you want to target women who are in that phase of life of marriage and engagement?
So my family, my dad and my brother, they are extremely athletic and were gifted in football, and my brother played basketball, baseball, all the sports. But with me having CP, I wasn't able to participate in sports much, even though I love sports. I tried gymnastics and ice skating, but obviously I couldn't really excel at them. But a friend introduced me to Beachbody, now Body, BODI, and I was able to do those workouts and be physically active and healthy from doing physical activity, because they modify the program so that anybody at any fitness level or capability can do the program. So that really appealed to me.
Awesome. And why did you choose to target women who are engaged or planning their...
I got engaged in late September, and so with coaching, it just kind of follows you through whatever season of life you're in. So right now I'm engaged and I'm planning my wedding. And so I run health and fitness virtual groups online through Facebook. And so the group I'm running right now is for future brides or girls who are bridesmaids in upcoming weddings. So they join me and I become their coach, and they work out with me, and we share our post-workout pictures and the meals we're eating within this Facebook group, and then we chat about wedding stuff. So then when I'm married, it'll shift to newlyweds, and then we're home building, so then homeowner things, and then someday, God willing, if I'm a mom, then I'll be working with moms. So it just kind of goes along with whatever season of life I'm in.
That's awesome that you're basing your business off of the season of life that you are in. I think that's very cool. Speaking about weddings and stuff, have you experienced any kind of whenever you're I don't know, this just popped in my head. I don't know if you've searched for your wedding dress yet, but have you experienced any accessibility issues when finding a wedding dress for walking? Because I know that society's ideal wedding dress is long and
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So have you experienced any kind of issues with that or
Well, when I went shopping for my dress, I went with my mom. And so most girls, like, they just go into the dressing room and put the dress on and, like, walk out. And I am not in a wheelchair or anything, but my CP, I have spastic diplegia, cerebral palsy. So my leg muscles are tight. And so my balance is not very well. So if I'm, like, getting dressed, I have to sit down where, like, an able-bodied person would just like be able to step into a dress or step into a pair of pants, but I can't do that. So my mom helped me put the dresses on, like when I was at the bridal stores, and then they have like a platform that you can stand on, like to see the dress like full out, and so I would just hold on to somebody's hand while I was standing up there. And then as far as like the length of my dress, I went with my friend Amanda and we went to the alterations place a couple weeks ago, and we're just going to have my dress cut just a little bit shorter than traditional floor length so that it will be easier for me to walk in.
awesome. Like, yeah, I know that I've been a bridesmaid in like 3 weddings, and like when going to when like try even like the bridesmaid dresses, like like I had to like bring extra help to try them on because I am in a wheelchair, and then like the style of dresses, I have to make sure that it's long enough to like where it doesn't show anything when I'm sitting down, but it can't be too long because then it gets in my tires. Like,
yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, there's this like whole other aspect that like people what people don't even like have to think about when it comes to like choosing the right dress.
Right.
But, I'd love if you're willing to share. I'd love to learn more about how you met your fiance, and like were you like open with him with your disability, because like speaking to you now, since you have spastic diplegia, you can't really tell that you have a disability until you meet you in person, whereas like for me, I can't really hide the fact that I have a disability. So I'd love to hear your story if you're willing to share.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm 32 years old right now, and I actually didn't date anyone until I was 28. I just made a decision when I was probably 12 or 13 that I wanted to save sex for my wedding night and stay pure until then. And so I chose not to date around a lot, and I didn't want to start dating until I was like ready for marriage. So I lived in Nebraska for most of my life, and then 5 years ago I decided to move to Michigan, and I moved out on my own, like from my parents' house to an apartment in Michigan. It was a big move, and I had just got my driver's license. I didn't get my driver's license until I was 21 because having CP just made driving a little bit harder for me, and I was just apprehensive about it. So I got my driver's license, and then a few years later I moved to Michigan, and I decided to try online dating because I wanted to meet people at church, but that's just kind of like hard. And so I set up a profile on Christian Mingle, and I did that for a while, and I had a guy that was ready to go on a date with me, and so we talked on the phone, like an actual phone call instead of texting. And I said, like, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. I have mild cerebral palsy, so I walk a little bit differently, and my balance is not great. So like stairs or things like that are challenging, but I live on my own independently. And he was like, oh, that's great. Like, he said that I was like a warrior or something like that. And so then he's like, let's go on a date this weekend. And then I was like, okay. And so then the night before the date, he was like, hey, my heart's not really into dating right now. Like, I just want to be single. And I was Facebook friends at the time, and like 6 months later, like he was married. So I had a feeling that it was because of my CP. He was very physically active, like a runner and stuff. And so I felt like my CP was the reason that we didn't go on the date. Now, if you point blank asked him that, he probably would not have said that. And he was a very nice person. Like, I wasn't really offended by it, but like, I understand, but it still hurt a little bit. So I didn't ever tell guys like right away that I had CP, but when we were getting ready to go on a date, I would tell them because I didn't want them to be caught like off guard or uncomfortable and like not know how to react. So then I did go on a first date with a guy, and he was totally fine about it. And then we actually got engaged. This was like 4 years ago. And then 2 months before the wedding, he just abruptly ended the engagement. I don't think that had anything to do with CP. It's just part of my story of having a broken engagement was like a huge thing because I didn't want to date again after that because I was fully ready to marry this person, and to have an abrupt ending, that was very hard for me to be like, okay, let's date somebody else now. But a year after that, I did like some Christian counseling and just spent a lot of time healing. And actually, the workouts and all of the Beachbody programs, those actually helped me heal because I was depressed and I didn't want to get out of bed after that had happened. So doing the workouts and having something to do each day kind of helped me through that. But then I decided to do Facebook dating, which a lot of people don't really know what that is, but there's a separate entity within Facebook that's called Facebook dating. And it was newer at the time. This was about 3 years ago. And I was cleaning my apartment one day and thinking about it, whether I should try again or not. And I didn't want to, but I just felt like I should. So I made a profile. And then 5 minutes later, a guy named Jeremy messaged me and said that he really liked what I had to say about how important my faith was to me. And I was wearing this shirt that said, I love Jesus, family, and coffee. And so he said that he liked that. And then we decided to go on a date. And so before the date, I just said same thing, like, hey, I just want to let you know I was born 3 months premature and I have mild cerebral palsy. And he was like, okay, cool. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And so we went on our first date and it was great. And then fast forward 3 years now, like, we're getting married in April. So
That's awesome. I have similarities in my story when it comes to like dating. Like, I have similarities with you. I didn't start the whole dating process until my late 20s, just because I didn't feel the need to, and I just didn't want to. And then when in my late 20s, I decided to try online dating because all of my friends were doing it. I like how we have different perspectives when it comes to like sharing our disability. Like, because I shared my disability on my profile because, like I said before, like there's no hiding my disability.
right.
Even if I talked to somebody on the phone, like, you could hear my speech is slurred. Like, there's no like hiding the fact that I have a disability. So I was upfront with that. Like, I experienced a lot of, like, I don't know, online dating on like being vocal about your disability. Like it's kind of like a catch-22. Like, you either get like a bunch of weirdos or like people that people that are like you're a warrior. Like, okay, thanks. I'm just living my life, but okay. And the funny thing is that I swore that I would never date another disabled person. Like, I wanted an able-bodied partner, or like blah blah blah. Like, I was on that kick, and I actually met my partner on a dating website, and he's disabled. Like, so like I almost did not talk to him because of that fact. And then, like, my twin sister, I told her about him, and she was like, Whitney, you're doing the exact same thing. You're doing the exact same thing to him that you don't want people to do to you. You're judging him because of his disability. And now, almost 4 years later, we're like in a committed relationship, and but yeah. So yeah, I just think it's awesome how the internet can like be like bring people together in that way. But yeah, that's very cool. Do you get? I'm trying to think of questions. Do you ever, when you're in public, does your significant other like ever get people like saying like you're so awesome for being with her? Have you ever encountered that?
I don't think so. I've never noticed it, and he's never said anything to me about that. But yeah, I don't think so. Like, my CP is very slight. Like,
yeah, I didn't know how prominent your CP was, because again, like, that's what's so cool is CP is a spectrum. So like it can either be very mild or like a very,
yeah. I feel like people more so because like I hope someday to become a full-time health and fitness coach, but right now, like, it's kind of in the beginning stages of building that up. So I also work as a hostess at a restaurant. And so that is actually like a lot of walking. Like, you walk people to their seat and then walk back. And so when I walk, I kind of like walk. It's kind of like this, like walking. And so people can definitely tell that, oh, like she has something wrong with her. So I think I more so notice it like when I'm walking, like other people sitting at the tables might like stare and just, even not in a mean way, but just wonder, like,
she looks curious.
Yeah, that's like, it's interesting because how you're saying like you're in a wheelchair. I kind of have like the opposite. I don't know if you want to call it problem, but people look at me as not being disabled. So a lot of times, like at work, if there's like to-go orders, people just like run them out to the cars, and like there's a curb there and like stuff to step over, where like that's something that like I can't really do. And so I have to be an advocate for myself and like explain at work, like, Kenzie can't do that because she has cerebral palsy, but they look at me and they're like, you can do it, like you can walk, like you're fine. And so it's interesting because if I was in a wheelchair, like people wouldn't even like question if I needed help with something, or like carrying a high chair that like little babies sit in. Like, I can do it, but it's just awkward and like kind of heavy. And so a lot of times one of the servers will just like grab it, like, here, let me help you. But it's just the little things that are a challenge for me that people don't realize, because a lot of times they don't realize I'm disabled unless they're like really paying attention to how I walk.
Yeah, that's where my sarcasm would get me in trouble, because I'd be like, well, I could technically do it, but you'd be picking up all the food off the ground when I drop it.
Exactly, yeah. So at work, I don't carry any of the trays, or that's another thing is like I love coffee, but if I'm at home and I have like a mug full of coffee, like somebody has to like carry it over to the table for me, because if it's kind of full, like the way I walk, it's going to spill.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you have any advice for at the end of every episode? I ask my guests if they have any advice for those watching. Like, so do you have any advice for someone that's like either wants to start their health and fitness journey, or are in that in that season of their life where they're dating or engaged or anything like that? Do you have any advice for those watching?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people often write themselves off because they're disabled, as far as like, especially with working out, like, oh, I can't do that because I have CP or whatever disability. And that's what doing Beachbody has shown me, is that I can still get the goals that I want, like whether I'm trying to lose weight or tone or get stronger, like I can still achieve all that even with my CP. So I would say, well, first of all, to like come talk to me about it, because I have a couple girls that have CP that are talking about to just try things, because it doesn't hurt to try. Like when I was younger, I said I tried gymnastics and ice skating. Like if you try something, you never know if it'll work out for you or not. And then as far as dating, I would say to be patient. And I do think it is a good idea to be upfront, because the right person won't think it's a deal breaker that you have CP. The right person will figure out ways to make things work. Like my fiance Jeremy, he loves riding bikes. I can't ride like a 2-wheel bike having CP, like I can't balance it. So he found a tricycle, a 3-wheeled bike, and I can ride that. So we ride bikes together because he found that tricycle for me. So there's always ways like around things. So when you're upfront with people about your disability, then it's not like springing it on them on the first date. Like they kind of think like, oh, she might walk differently. Okay. And then they have like time to like process that, and the right person won't think that it's a deal breaker. My dad always told me growing up that the right guy isn't really even gonna like notice my CP. Like they're gonna love me so much that it's not an issue, and that was true with Jeremy.
Awesome. That's good advice. Where can people follow you on social media?
My Instagram is Kenzie K, KENSYK,
Awesome.
like the letter K.
I'll put that in the description so people can check you out. It was a great talking with you, Kenzie, and thank you for being on an episode of Spastic Chatter. If you're watching this and you want to be on an episode, I would love to have you. Feel free to reach out wherever you are listening to this episode, and check back for another episode. I have a few episodes in the works. We're starting this new year off with a bang. So, like I said, check back for another episode, and I will talk to everyone later.
Thanks, Whitney.
Bye.
Bye.